It's a Greenpeace.
Well, let's see. Why would they care?
About you care about animals, and you.
It is very unpopular to wear fur.
Yeah.
But if it's cold, so what to do?
I think it's not popular in Omsk.
Yes.
So how do we keep warm in the cold?
Put a lot of socks.
And let's see, my boots are lined with sheepskin.
Sheepskin?
But how about care about animals? Sheep is not animals.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me, except that sheep are not raised as pets, and they're not wild. And so I think they think of them as a sort of production animal.
Mm-hmm. We have, I think we have two production animals. Sheep, maybe pigs.
But generally, people don't cultivate and raise mink, for example. This was popular for a long time during the 20th century. People raised animals for their fur, but now that is no longer acceptable. And if celebrities like movie stars wear fur, they risk being having red paint thrown at them. There is a militant group called PETA, and I've forgotten what it stands for.
It's People for the Equitable Treatment of Animals.
Oh, that was good. And they are very militant.
What is militant?
Warlike.
Mm-hmm.
PETA is also, some people joke about it and say that PETA is people eating tasty animals.
And generally, PETA followers are vegetarian. And it's getting to be very popular here to be vegetarian as well. And so would you say there are very many vegetarians? Are there vegetarian restaurants, or in restaurants are there menu items for vegetarians, in your experience?
In Omsk, I didn't heard about such restaurant and such menu, actually.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that. What about What about Moscow?
I don't know. I had never seen it. Maybe. I don't know. Really don't know. I never been there.
And do you know anyone who doesn't eat meat?
Yeah.
I don't.
What about you, Konstantin? Do you know anyone who doesn't eat meat?
Sometimes I didn't eat meat. When we have a feast,
And did you say that you do not eat meat?
sometimes.
Oh, and when he has a fast. So
Yes,
does
yes.
that,
When we have a fast
and
in
so
Orthodox fast.
yes. So that is for religious reasons. Yes.
But I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who didn't eat meat
Elena,
forever.
did you say, yeah, Elena, you said that you do not eat meat. Is that correct? Is that
No,
what I
no,
understand?
no, I eat meat.
You eat meat. Okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, you say of course, but here now, if you give a dinner, you have to be prepared that someone will come who not only doesn't eat meat, but they expect you to provide some alternative menu item. And that's getting to be more and more common. And there's not only vegetarian, but there's something called vegan.
Oh.
Vegans eat no meat products, so that means they wouldn't eat eggs or fish. It's now the popular term is a plant-based diet.
Cheese too?
Cheese.
Cheese.
Oh, can't eat cheese.
Also not.
If you're a vegan, or a vegan.
Uh-huh.
Oh, a vegan who would not eat honey because it's an animal product.
Wow.
Wow.
So, what do they eat?
Plants. So that means
just vegetables?
beans and rice, for
Okay.
example, is going to be a staple in a vegan diet. And there's even people who eat only raw food. And this is also very popular, very trendy.
Mm-hmm.
And I am fascinated by this because in the 20th century, this would have been very rare. Most vegetarians in the 20th century would would not eat meat or fish or any animal product unless they were ill, unless they had what you would say for health reasons.
Mm.
But I grew up in cattle country, where cattle were raised for food and still are, and so everybody eats beef. And people would look at you funny if you said, "Oh no, I don't eat meat." They would say, "What? Are you sick?" It's a different kind of existence. So, so you don't accept the idea that the meteorite might have been a conspiracy, going back to the topic we started with today.
About what?
A conspiracy.
Can you type it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So a conspiracy would mean, let's see, what is the name of that politician, Professor Lero, that is always has some offbeat ideas? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Say that again.
That Russian politician who always has these offbeat ideas that advance the idea.
Zyuganov.
No.
And why do you react in that way?
Me?
Yeah.
Because I'm a member of the Communist Party. And so Zyuganov, he's a leader of the Communist Party, so...
So you don't think of him as extreme?
No.
And if I'm not mistaken, he advanced the idea that the meteorite was not a meteorite at all, but an American rocket.
Oh, actually about this I didn't heard yet. I didn't read his opinion and his comments, so I can't say something. But maybe it's right, yes, because he has some ideas in such ways. I have to agree, but I don't think so.
Okay, so that's interesting. Well, it takes a long time for things like that to be investigated so that we know what's happened. But I'm fairly sure that it was not all an American plot. We have a lot of conspiracy theorists in this country. And they think everybody is out to get them.
Yeah, just with the time.
Yeah. So I wanted to thank you, all of you, for writing on the role model. I'm enjoying reading what you write and respond. And I would invite you to comment on what other students have read as well to help build the conversation. I also have a blog on this site, and this is my first post, and thank you, Konstantin, for responding to it. This link will take you there directly, and I will post there once or twice a week, and I really intend to have it be about learning strategies. And coming up next will be speaking strategies and listening strategies. In the past, in other versions of this course, we have had students say that at the beginning it's very difficult to understand this free-form kind of discussion. But that after a week or two, it gets easier. And so is it easier for you today than it was last week to understand us?
Yes, I think yes, but I don't understand so much in politics, and it's hard for me.
And also, everybody, when you get excited about something, you talk a lot faster, and then it's hard to understand, right? So one way to deal with that is, if you don't understand, then don't be afraid to ask, because that's part of what this time is about. And so I wanted to make a suggestion, and I'll probably write something about this too. Students of language, any language, tend to have learned, if you don't understand, you say, repeat please. Did you learn this in your school?
Yes, it's like in school. Can you repeat please and raise your hand?
Yes. And in Russian, when another native speaker of Russian doesn't understand you, do they say, repeat please?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Very polite.
Yeah. Or the saying, what did you say?
That's good Russian. They say, повторите, пожалуйста. Repeat, please.
Yeah, it's polite, yeah.
That's, or they say, повтори, пожалуйста. And that's also informal. But that's sufficient. In English, that sounds very rude.
Rude?
Kind of very rude, very abrupt, very much like a command. In English, you would say, could you repeat that, please? Could you repeat that, please? Could you repeat that for me? Something like that. Russian often omits the direct object pronoun in phrases like that. You say, повторите, пожалуйста. Скажите, пожалуйста. Tell, please. But in English, you have to say, you can't say tell, please. You have to say, please tell me. Please tell me. So that's good English. But if you say tell, please, that sounds kind of rude, abrupt, and a little off-putting. So you have to be careful about that. That it's good Russian, very good Russian, but it's not good English at all.
So, if a native speaker of English doesn't hear or doesn't understand what another English speaker says, they may say, could you repeat that, please? But they might say simply, excuse me? And that means, oh, or then something that's very informal and kind of brusque is to say, huh? I wouldn't advise that. But if somebody doesn't hear, they're going to say, I didn't get that. Could you say that again, please? Now,
could you repeat that, please?
Yes.
Last phrase.
Yes. That's very good. And it's important to know how to say this.
Get that. Could you repeat?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
If you say, could you repeat that, please, you will have an entirely different reaction than if you say, repeat, please.
Mm-hmm.
Most Americans who don't speak another language, if they hear repeat, please, then they kind of tense up. They become uncomfortable, and they're going to say, oh, this dude doesn't speak English very well, so I better figure out a different way to say what I just said. I'm not going to repeat it because he didn't understand it, so I better start over with a whole new set of words. And then he might be kind of stupid if he didn't understand that. So I better talk louder and more slowly. All these things are common things for people who do not speak a language other than their native language. And so if you were to visit the United States, you would want to be able to ask in a way that would keep the native speakers who are monolingual in a place where they're comfortable enough to give you a second chance. And then we have people who mumble. Do you know what mumbling is?
No.
Mumble.
Mumbler is someone who doesn't talk very clearly. They may not move their lips much. And just speaks under their breath. And that's difficult for native speakers who are hard of hearing. And so, do you know what hard of hearing is? I'm sorry I'm just doing this today. What does hard of hearing mean?
Hard of hearing.
What does that mean?
You don't hear very well. That someone should to talk loud, or I don't know, to pronounce a word that you will understand.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yes, that's good. Okay, so.
Sometimes it happens to me.
Well, and part of the problem is context is important. Context. The situation in which you are listening is very important. So you need to understand that the way you speak to one person, say a professor, is going to be different than the way you speak to your little brother or sister. The language level is different that you use with your family members and with someone to whom you with whom you have a more formal relationship. Context is bigger than that, but did you learn? We're going to get to the lesson here in a minute. Did you learn to say, how do you do, when you were introduced to someone in English? Did anybody ever learn that?
How is it going?
Is it going? Okay. But so you didn't learn how do you do?
At school.
In school.
You do.
Okay. Well, that's good. How do you do was pretty much early 20th century or maybe late 19th century. but and maybe British. How do you do?
Yeah.
But now, when you're introduced to someone who might be in your same position, they say, yes, pleased to meet you. That's very good. And if you don't both want to say pleased to meet you, another possibility would be just to say hello, or what you wrote, how's it going? Or hello. That's all quite good.
So these expressions, how do you do, and how's it going? Those are formulaic expressions because they really don't have much. They don't contain much meaning. Like when you say, "How do you do?" Well, what does the do refer to? You know, how do you do? How do you do? How do you do what? And how's it going? What does that it refer to? These are both proforms. How's it going? What does that refer to? The it. Life, the weather, the day. When I go to the supermarket and pay my bill and I'm on my way home, the clerk often says to me, "Have a good one. Have a good one." And I'm wondering, what does she mean, a good one? Have a good one. Have a good one, which is a way of saying goodbye. But have a good one. Have a good one what? Have a good drive home? Have a good
day.
Have a good day, or have a good evening.
I hope you have a nice day, yeah.
Have a nice day. Have a good one.
So the one that has puzzled me.
Sorry, have a good one. Have a good day, or have a good evening. It is instead goodbye.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Informal.
Have a good evening instead of goodbye.
It's formal or informal?
Informal.
Informal.
And the one that puzzled me for quite a while was this.
What's up?
Yeah.
Sup.
Which is
The same. How's it going? What's up?
What's up? But there's okay. I'm a little old lady. I'm a professor, and for me to say this is funny. It's funny. And but because I'm interested in these sort of things, when it's appropriate to say these things, I have a grandson who's 20, and I asked him, "What's the answer to sup?" And he says, "Sup." So it doesn't carry a lot of meaning. It's like, hey.
It's like the word hello. It's like the word
It's a sort of, I acknowledge your presence.
Can someone give me a definition of hello? I keep dropping. Every time I put something in chat, I often drop. Can one of you give me a definition of the word hello?
In Russian?
In English.
In English.
A definition. Like if I say, give me a definition of the word wristwatch, you can say, oh, it's a clock and it's small and it's meant to be worn. Or I could say the definition of a mouse. You know, it's a.
Hello, it's a greeting.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a definition. You've told me how it's used, but can you define it? You're right, absolutely right. It's a greeting. It's a greeting. It's a greeting. That's kind of like saying, I say, well, what's a watch? And you say, oh, it's a noun. It's a noun. So do you know any more about what a watch is? No. You know it's a noun. But there are some expressions, many expressions, in many languages that don't have meaning, but they are appropriate in a given context. Hello is a greeting. Have a good one is a goodbye. How do you do? How's it going? These are nearly impossible to define. At best, they can be paraphrased, and as you pointed out, Elena, what they have is a context in which they're used.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, words are not only about their meaning, their textual meaning, they're also contextual. It's about the context. How do they fit in with what's talking? What
That's
do
a
you
good.
know?
That's a very good segue, actually.
Well, take it away. A segue, do you know what that is?
No.
I don't know if I can spell that word.
Segue. Segue.
Is that right?
You guys?
No, segue. Here we go.
Okay. And it means transition. Because today we intended to talk about Gettysburg. And context is very important for Gettysburg, is it not? So let's see. We do not have a way to upload pictures, Joe. It looks.
Professor Shostakov, are you there?
Uh-oh.
He is absent.
He isn't. He's absent. Well.
I'm here, Joe.
Oh, okay.
Ah, good.
Oh, so I'm sorry. I have a mistake.
And so, can you let Joe have the power to upload?
Could I pass it to you? I'm afraid that if every time I change formats, I drop off.
Okay. So, I get to be the presenter.
Okay.
And let me see what I can do. I have to remember how to do this. Share, that's what I want. Looked at this last week. Do you remember it?
Mm.
Where is this?
There we go.
And what is this thing called that we're looking at? Is that forest of stones? What do you call that in English?
Cemetery.
Cemetery.
Yes. And where is it? Having trouble spelling it. There. What do we? So we looked at it last week, did we not?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And so it is it a new cemetery or an old cemetery?
Old cemetery.
Okay. And where is it located?
In Gettysburg.
Yes. And do you know what state Gettysburg is in?
No.
In Pennsylvania state.
Yes.
It's in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
It's in southern Pennsylvania, about 150 miles, a little less than 300 kilometers north of Washington, D.C. And it was a very famous battle during the American Civil War. There was a very famous battle here between July 1 and July 3, 1863. And this was as far north as the Southern Army ever advanced. The Southern Army had marched up to Pennsylvania, and their strategy was that they would then, once they got to Pennsylvania, that they would turn south so that they could attack Washington, D.C. They wanted very much to capture Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. And the Union Army could read the Southern strategy, and their goal was to stop the advance of the Southern Army, the rebel army, the army of the Confederacy, the Confederate States of America. I think that history shows that there were 50,000
It may be that Professor Nero has dropped off. That's what it looks like. He's having connection difficulties today. The number of casualties at this battle were incredibly high. So many people died in such a short time.
It was 51,000, no?
Yeah, really a lot of people. And so that's why they located a cemetery on the battlefield, because they had to, dead bodies are kind of demand quick attention, especially in July in Pennsylvania. And when Lincoln came to dedicate the battlefield, it was several months later, in November. when things in the war were more settled. So, who won this war?
This battle?
Who won the war? Yes, who won the battle?
War?
First, who won the battle?
States won the war.
No, Union. No?
The Union States, yeah.
Yeah.
Northern states.
Did someone ask who won this battle, the Battle of Gettysburg?
Yes.
Who won the battle?
The Union won, no?
Yeah, well, in the sense that the Union kept the South from advancing to Washington, they won the battle. But in a 3-day battle, mind you, a 3-day battle in which 51,000 men were killed, how can you say that anyone won that battle? It was the losses were incredibly high on both sides.
And one of the things that is little known about this battle is why the South did not do better. The two generals that were responsible for leading the sides were General Lee, Robert E. Lee, led the Confederate, and he is studied by military historians as being a genius. And General Meade led the Union Army, and he was never considered a genius. He was kind of a goofball.
I'm sorry, General Lee led the Union Army, not the Confederation?
No. He
was
a
Southern. Yeah. He was a Southerner, Robert E. Lee. And if I were a Southerner, I would say, wash your mouth out with soap, girl. Because every red-blooded Southerner is still fighting the Civil War.
Mm-hmm. There's an elementary school in my neighborhood here in Austin, Texas, and the name of the school is Robert E. Lee Elementary School. Robert E. Lee Elementary School.
Mm. And my father-in-law was named after this general, Robert E. Lee, and then his family name. Mm-hmm. And he was born and lived his entire life in Oregon, which wasn't even a state at the time of this war. And, well, yes, it was a state, but certainly didn't have anything to do with the Civil War because it was too far away in the northwest corner. So there are people in the South who continually say the South will rise again. They have not accepted that...
Still today?
Yes, still today. It's an important part of our political landscape.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still with us in the 21st century.
And what they mean when they say that South will rise again? How they want to rise?
They want to control the government and change the policy. Basically, the two things that they're interested in doing is making sure that people of color, that is African American or black people, don't have the same rights as white people. It's still
today they want this policy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. And you know, in a way, the South has risen again, except for Barack Obama and Richard Nixon. All of the presidents of the United States for the last 40 years have been Southerners.
Have been what?
Southerners. They've been from the South.
Okay.
George W. Bush was from the South. His father was from the South. Lyndon Johnson was from the South. Jimmy Carter was from the South. I overlooked Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford became president by default. So, but every time there was an election, every elected president in the last 40 years was a Southern president.
And Ronald Reagan was from South too?
Reagan was from California.
It isn't South.
No, it's California. It's
between them.
He was from Orange County, which is in Southern California, but sure enough, he was not from the South. But the South is become very, 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 very politically powerful.
So on the second point in the policy that they want to change, the South.
It's about uppity women.
About what?
Uppity women.
Can you write down?
Women activists.
Okay.
And what I said was uppity.
Uppity.
Uppity women.
Uppity women.
Women belong at home barefoot and pregnant.
So it's also the same like it was for how much years ago? The same position.
Exactly. Almost 150 years ago.
Yeah.
So even though we're a young country, we haven't learned much. We are still bound by tradition in so many ways.
I wonder if we could get the text of the Gettysburg Address text.
To manage that.
So we remember the story. The battle was in July 1863, and in November 1863, President Lincoln rode the train from Washington to Gettysburg, and he was going to give a speech at the dedication of this cemetery, at the opening of the cemetery. And the speech that he gave is called the Gettysburg Address. The Gettysburg Address. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very, very famous speech in American history. In fact, most school children in the United States are required sometime during their elementary school years to memorize this speech. It's not very long. You see the whole thing here. It's only 200 and something words. It doesn't take more than 2 minutes to give. It's often considered one of the masterpieces of American oratory. And all of you had a chance to read this? Irena, how about if let's go ahead and read it now. How about if you open it, Irena, and just read the first paragraph, that first sentence?
Yeah, okay. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
It's beautiful, beautiful. Do you know what that means?
Yes. I just didn't understood what means fourscore, actually.
Fourscore. What do you think? What is fourscore? Tell your classmates what fourscore means.
4 times 20.
4 times 20. A score is 20. It's an old. It's an archaic usage of score. Score. Fourscore.
It's 80 years.
87
so years.
Why do you think? Why do you think he didn't get up and say 87 years ago? Why didn't he say 87 years ago? What do you think?
Because it don't sound so licorice or something.
Doesn't sound so elegant. So
yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Konstantin, would you read the second paragraph?
Mm-hmm. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this.
I'll do this. Now we are engaged in a great civil war. Great civil war. Великая гражданская война. It's a great civil war. And he doesn't mean great in the sense.
Sorry, would you like to repeat?
Yes, I think he fell off again. In a great civil war, he doesn't mean great as in glorious and wonderful, but rather great in the sense of enormous, large, even important, but not wonderful. We are engaged in a great civil war.
We are met on a great battlefield of that war. Great. He uses that word great again. Great battlefield. It's a big field, a great battlefield. I don't know the acreage, but you can imagine that this is a substantial piece of land. Testing whether that nation or any nation is so conceived and so dedicated. Konstantin, what do those phrases mean? So conceived and so dedicated.
At first paragraph, he said that nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to propositions that all men are created.
Good. Very good. That's good. That's what he's referring to. Where he's asking us to consider why we were founded, why this nation exists in the first place. Ooh, nice, good. Olga, would you like to read? Would you read for us?
Last paragraph.
Yeah, go ahead and do about half of it, okay?
Sorry, I don't understand.
Read half of the last paragraph, please.
But it is rather for a read before that.
Okay. But in the last chance we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men living and dead who struggled here have consecrated it. For above our power to add or detract, the world will little not no longer remember what we say here, but it can never forget that they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Thank you. That's good. That's very good. So he continues, it is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. And that cause, of course, is the question of whether this nation can long endure. That we highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. These are powerful words, great words, and it begins 77 years ago with that very famous phrase, and it ends with this wonderful phrase by Lincoln, government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that's what Lincoln's idea of government was all about. That's the way. That's a beautiful speech. What do you think? Do you like this? Do you like his words, Olga?
Yes, it's good when government think about people, do something for people, and I know it's wanted that people lived better. Lived better. I think it's short but very yes, government focused on the people. How to say in English?
You know, Professor Marston put an interesting observation in the chat, and that is that Lincoln, as far as style goes, he uses what's called the rule of three. That when he says something, he often says it 3 times. Government, 1, of the people, 2, by the people, 3, for the people. The brave men who struggled here have, but in a larger sense, 1, we cannot dedicate, 2, we cannot consecrate, 3, we cannot hallow. That we here highly resolve, 1, that these dead shall not have died in vain, 2, that this nation shall have a new birth of freedom, and 3, that government of the people shall not perish. And you know, he spoke like that, and Tolstoy also wrote like that. Tolstoy often used, when he said something, when he wrote, he often wrote it 3 times. He would say it 3 times. Are you familiar, any of you, with this element of style? Irena, have you ever heard of this before?
I think yes, but I don't remember for which authors I can say it. I don't remember the names, but I heard yes.
Yeah. How about you as an author? Do you think that's a good technique?
I think yes. It sounds strong, like powerful.
It sounds strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's powerful. It kind of builds. It kind of builds a rhythm into your speaking.
Yeah.
Into your speaking. Are there any words in here besides fourscore that we don't understand? Anyone? Irena, Konstantin, Olga?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Any words that you don't understand?
Oh.
No.
No? How about hallow? We cannot dedicate,
Sacrifice.
We cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow. What does hallow mean?
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice? Hallow. In English, when we pray the Our Father, we say, hallowed be thy name. And on October 31, kids in the West celebrate Halloween. Halloween. So what do you think hallow means?
It's saint?
It has something to do with saint, yeah, something to do with saint. We cannot hallow. It's to make holy, to make something holy. To make something holy. Good. Good. Very good. Very nice. Now, we also, let's see, you had the Gettysburg text.
This is called Gettysburg text.
There it is, Gettysburg
text. Look at the tabs
text.
at the beginning. You will see it. It's called what he said there.
What he said there.
Piece of Sarah Vowell's text essay about visiting Gettysburg.
All of you read the text by Sarah Vowell?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Sarah Vowell, okay. And did you listen to her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like what she said?
Not everything.
Not everything. Okay. Not everything. Not everything. What did she say that you didn't like? Who said that? Irena.
Repeat the question.
Well,
please.
Did you like what she said? And you said not everything. Could you tell us what you liked and what you didn't like?
Well, I didn't like that she was sometimes, I think, too rude and too brash.
Aha.
Yeah, when she's saying some things, especially about the Lincoln speech, that she didn't like some moments and the ways like he said. And I liked her feelings and her emotions when she's talking about the deaths, not like as a statistic. And she's talking about the names in each dead man, like something like that. And so she's trying to describe her feelings. And also when she's saying about the cotton, how to say that? The cotton ball, something like.
Oh, very good. Very good. That's a good observation. Now, do you think that do you think that that's the way she is in real life? Rude and kind of curt, do you think? Or
well, I think she used a lot of how to say. If she's writing in this style, I think so. She does.
You say that she's first, good for you for realizing that it's a style, and that she appears to be comfortable with this style. That is to say, if she's comfortable enough with the style to write it, then perhaps in real life that she's also comfortable with using this style for herself. Good for you. Good
Yes.
for you.
And also I saw that in some her lines and some phrases you can see some kind that she is admiring herself in her words that she wrote, some kind of that.
Yeah.
Olga?
I like one sentence of Sarah. It's about bodies. It's funny. Say about people who died. But I think it's not her term. It's for people who died. And but he say I pay my respect to the bodies. I don't know. Strange for me.
That's certainly a different approach to the one that President Lincoln took. You know, what if President Lincoln have said that I pay my respects to the bodies? That would not have had the emotional impact that when he says these dead shall not have died in vain, that they gave their last full measure of devotion. Konstantin?
I think that the article is too much ironic.
Too much irony?
Ironic, but I can't understand why she agreed with the man who was killed more than about 150 years ago. And I think that sometimes she is not ironic when she describes the cemetery itself. When she described graves, when she described the plates under the grave, and I like very much the moment when she had a young little boy who said, who was orphaned by a high of a reactor. He said to his mother, do you think that he is too short? I think that young generation like history of own country.
Do you think this essay is formal writing or informal writing?
Informal.
And do you think it's well written? Whether or not you agree with her, or would you say it's well written or not?
I didn't understand the question.
It's written good, but I don't know why. I don't realize why.
Okay, that's a good comment, actually. It's a complex text. One of the things that she is trying to do, I think, in this selection from the text, is to put it in a modern context.
Mm-hmm.
She mentions the date of her visit. It is November 19th, 2000, the 137th anniversary of the cemetery dedication ceremony, at which Lincoln delivered a certain speech. So she's telling what it's like to go to this place, which is so famous in American history, and this kind of points back to the beginning paragraph, the first part of it. She goes there, and she's not going back to the battle itself. She's seeing what it's like on that day. She starts out saying, there are children playing soccer on a field at Gettysburg, where the Union Army lost the first day to fight. So she's contrasting what happens there now at this national park with what happened there 137 years after the dedication, 137 years after the battle. So we have children. What are they doing?
Play soccer. It's a football.
It's European football, and she has a problem with that. She says, like a bunch of Belgians, and in the middle of football season, no less. She's kind of shocked that these children are playing a non-American game. And so she actually is feeling that's wrong somehow.
So that kind of irritates her. She's mildly irritated. And what's the next thing that irritates her?
When she asked the guy where the south, right?
Where's the south? Yeah, which way is south? And why? And he says, and not
I
only,
don't know.
He doesn't know, and he is a reenactor. There is a kind of a group of Americans whose hobby is to recreate famous military battles, and so they dress in costumes and they carry weapons that are weapons of that time, and they assemble at these places and they recreate the battles. And you would think that any Confederate soldier would certainly know which way is south. You know, do you, Elena, in your hometown, do you know which way is north and which way is south in Omsk?
No.
Well,
you're not
right.
in a battle.
You're not in battle. So that's actually, Elena, that's the third thing that irritates her. What's the second thing that irritates her, Olga? What's the second thing that irritates her?
Oh,
sorry, I was a little loose.
Elena or Konstantin, what's the second thing that irritates her?
Maybe
billboard.
The billboard. Exactly. There's a billboard, and you know what a billboard is. The billboard says it's advertising a mall, a group of stores, and it says the Gettysburg Address for shopping. And there's a kind of pun on that billboard having to do with address, because on the one hand, address is a speech, the Gettysburg Address. Gettysburgskaya Rech. And on the other hand, an address is what we know as address. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you say, well, the Gettysburg address for shopping is this particular mall, and that irritates her because she thinks that the mall is commercializing something that should be treated with great respect and reverence. So she starts out in a bad mood. Like everything is going wrong. The coffee is cold and the paper is late and everything is wrong. She starts her day in a bad mood.
And she gets down to the reenactor who doesn't know which way is up, and she says to him, "Dude, you're from there." When she says, "You're from there," where is there?
From south?
From the south, yes. He is wearing a rebel uniform, a Confederate uniform. And she thinks the least he should know about history is which direction is south.
Which direction is south? Now, the south were the rebels, and they had distinctive uniforms. Do any of you know what the uniforms in the south were like and what the uniforms in the north were like?
On the south was gray color, on the north was blue.
The north was blue, and you often hear them referred to as the blue and the gray. The blue and the gray. So if you hear that phrase in American English, you know that you're talking about the Northern Army and the Southern Army. The blue and the gray. Good. Very good. Very good.
Can I ask?
Mm-hmm.
What dude means?
Aha. What does dude mean? Aha. Good question. Dude. Well, sort of in modern American English, dude, it's just hard to translate. Dude is a form of address, and in modern American English, it could be mujik or dak, something like that.
Pigeon in our dictionary.
Form of address, very slang, very informal.
And usually it refers to men. I was watching a crime drama on television last week, and the punk kid who was a criminal was being disrespectful to the detective, and he addressed him as "dude." And the detective was angry. He said, "First of all, I'm not dude, I'm Detective Reagan." And so it really doesn't show respect. And it's although now it's also used for women. "Come on, dudes, we gotta go."
Dude.
It's like it's informal, but here it's in this sense, "Dude, you're from there." It's a little disrespectful.
Chubak, that's right. Thank you. Somebody, Chubak. I write Chudak.
Good.
Chubak. Thank you. All right. Anything else, Professor Marston, for next time?
I wanted to say how much I am enjoying what you're writing in the club, and I hope that you will. The next step would be to comment on what what another student has written, and I will respond to that. And I also, let's see if I can put it in the blog. This is a direct link to my new Webilang blog, in which I will be writing about learning strategies. Now, I know, Konstantin, you wrote a nice comment, and I responded, and I will be writing next about listening strategies and speaking strategies. And this is one of my professional specialties, is learning about language learning strategies. And your comments and your questions are welcome there as well. During the course of our interactive class sessions, you don't actually have much opportunity to write. And so it is wonderful when you take advantage of the asynchronous part, both the club and the blogs, to express what you do. Your questions, your comments are welcome. Konstantin, I thought you wrote a wonderful question on my blog about how we professors wanted to be addressed. And and I did my best to explain that. So you can find my answer at the address that I showed you. So I think we're out of time. For next week, I hope that I will have seen the Lincoln movie, which I haven't yet. I generally don't watch movies in the theater, but I will make an exception this week. We may come back to the Sarah Vowell text, or we may just talk about the Lincoln movie and whatever else comes up. So try to do that. Please continue to write on role models, and we will we'll soon have a new topic for you to write about. But see how you respond to what other people wrote about role models. And if you have not yet had an opportunity to study Sarah Vowell's text, then this is one of the ways that you can really improve your listening comprehension. Don't listen to it just once. And even if we don't talk about it again, you can get a lot out of listening to it several times, and listening actively by reading along with Sarah Vowell, looking at the text while you're listening to her. It's a challenge, but if you push yourself to do that, it will help you become more fluent quickly. And so we have another assignment that we would like you to do for next week, and that is to prepare a presentation about your own role model. So
presentations, what it
yes. And so you could make be prepared to upload a picture or a short video clip. And then be prepared to talk about it, and feel free to use what you've already written before.
and we will show our pictures and videos in a blog on our lessons.
At the lesson, I think.
Next lesson.
Yes. And
I'm afraid that we need the support of Professor Shostakov. It is difficult technically for us yet.
We will help you upload the materials. The technical support, we can help you do that. It's not too hard. You need to have a separate picture, like a screenshot. And I know, Konstantin, you in particular might have a difficulty because your role models are ones that have changed. And of course you can't talk about the Three Musketeers and show a photograph of them, and you don't have to have a photograph, but talk about something that you have written, or add something new. Don't worry about the technical aspect because we will help you.
Thank you. Okay.
I can hardly wait to see what you write and what you present. And I hope you'll all have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Or that is to